Okay, I'm going to show you some of the stuff I've been doing on the Radpherd. I don't have any major components put together, so we'll start with this. This is a fixture for machining those holes that you see that are threaded in the axle. This fixture's back here. You can see some of the components of it. Had to make that up, make it so it clamps the part in there. Let's see if we can get it out. Yeah, there we go. So that part goes down in the hole there and gets clamped. Here's some of the cutters I used for doing the job. There's a couple bolts that are going to be used as collars or whatever to reduce the size of those holes to the ones that I need. The problem was the holes that were in there weren't in the right location. Here's two cutters that I broke during the operation. It's taken me two different times setting it up to finally get something that I can work with. Then over here are fixtures that are going to be used to align the axle housings with the axle. This is just some of the components. I don't have everything shown at one place, and I'm not going to try to explain how all this stuff works. Underneath this bench is some of my collection of parts. There's a guide, a power steering box. There's brake calipers, another brake disc, some welded parts. Up here is a collection of the things that I've been working on. I have the mounts for the calipers. They're going to go down over these axle housings. I got the spline shaft that's was going to be used to drive the axle or drive the wheels, but now I've decided it's too small, so I'm going to use it for my suspension rocker arm. These are used to align the bearings that are going to be on the opposite end of the axle. Here's one of the axles. This one has the bolts in the back, but that's not how it's going to look. They're going to have holes drilled in them, and they're going to be tapped for 1/2 inch 20, and most of this bolt won't even be there. These are universal joints. They're going to be between the center section and the axles. This is a brace between the upper and lower frame section. This is cosmetic to make it appear as if I bent the frame rails all the way around the tubes. These are braces, but they haven't been completed. They will get welded on there. These are tubing that's made to look like it will wrap around a piece of the housing. In fact, there we go. It's going to wrap around there, and then there's going to be two bars, two pieces of tubing, actually pipe, welded to all that. These are the studs for my axles. This is a spacer that I had to machine up to allow both wheels to face outward. There's the fixture I made, and this had to be set up so I could machine one of these notches, rotate it, then machine another notch. Also had to put the holes in it and make it so it'll align the two wheels together. And we go along here. This is the steering wheel. It's going to be for it. The cardboard you see in there are all patterns I used to establish what I was going to build. Here's my master cylinder and booster, so that I have power brakes on the vehicle. This is the front end, which is not the front end, and yet it is. This is going to give me the geometry I need, but most of this will be thrown away. I'll remake some components, change some of the ways that things are attached, and just make it look cooler and more personalized. This thing here is not part of my project. So right here, I've been filling in some of the concrete where there's been problems. Not that that has anything to do with my project. Over here is a pair of my wheels attached to each other, and if you look down in here, you can see the piece that I was making to make these two wheels attached to each other. And so that's that part of it. Now, this is not all of the components it's going to take just to mount the wheels. There's going to even be more. Of course, this was shown in one of my other in pictures, but some of the things I did is even though these holes are rough cut, I cut the larger one, and then when I welded the two plates together, I cut the other hole using the larger one as a guide. These plug welds here absolutely do nothing. I mean, they're actually real plug welds, but they weren't necessary at all. Now, for the rest of just the rear end, we're going out here in what we call the basement, and I'll show you here. This rear end here is going to be the center section. I will be, sorry about changing the direction, but I needed to fill it in. I'll be cutting it off here and here, and only using this center piece. I'll then have to make plates to go on the ends. I'm going to have to come up with a way to mount all this to the center of the frame, and I'll have to put universal joints on it and like that. The rest of this hanging out both ends will get thrown away. So just a second here, I'm going to lose it. All right, and just for a little bit of conversation, outside here is the stock, the metal that I'm using to build the frame. I don't know how well it's going to come out because I can't see it. But the big piece of pipe there was the cross members that I used. Probably won't use the rest of it, so that's just kind of waste. Actually, I'm giving a big chunk of it to Ron, the guy who owns this building. There's some of the pipe that I'll be using to finish up the frame. So, since I didn't have anything to photograph, I figured, you know, of major importance, I figured I'd show you all the components. So, hope you enjoyed it.